Men today are struggling with their mental health. And the men's mental health crisis is a silent struggle that so many men face on an everyday basis, and not enough of us are talking about it. And in this video, whether you are a woman who has men in your life that you extremely love, or whether you are a man watching this video, I really want to take a moment today to really acknowledge and validate the crisis and the epidemic of men's mental health and how much it really is deteriorating and how many men are struggling silently. And most importantly, I really want to share and give you tips as to how you can start to support yourself. So whether you're a man or whether you're a woman and you want to share these tips with the men in your life that you love, because as a naturopathic doctor, as a practitioner who is certified in cognitive behavioral therapy, I see so many men in my practice now. I really feel like my practice started off and I attracted a lot of women into my practice because I'm a woman, but I see so many men now in my practice who are struggling with their mental health. And in a way, I'm really happy and glad that they're at least starting to reach out. But I see so many of the common themes with men and their mental health struggles that just pop up over and over and over again that I was like, I have to make a video about this so that more of us can know about this, and most importantly, so we can start supporting the men in our life so that they can start thriving. So first of all, why are so many men struggling with their mental health today, and what are some of those common themes and issues that I see constantly coming up? Number one, really within the past few years or a couple of decades, there's been such a shift towards feminism. And I'm a woman. I'm not against feminism by any means. Women were suppressed for many, many years. And, women for years and years were controlled by men. So it's naturally right, the pendulum now swings the other way, and women are taking back so much power and control. Nowadays, more and more women are, really investing in their careers. They're very career driven. I'm a career driven woman. But I think really what's happened over the years is that this shift towards feminism has almost started to shift towards hating on men. And I hear this in my practice from the men that I work with, that the hate that they experience from specifically other women. And I think that it's so important. I'm all about feminism, I'm all about women empowerment, but I'm not about doing that in a way where we put down men in our lives. And even on social media, we see this. So many of these posts that are made about just mocking men and making fun of men. And I just don't think that it's fair. I don't think that women as a gender should feel more superior and better by putting down men, even though I know in the past it's been different and women have been put down. And it's you could argue for both sides for so many reasons. And I'm not here to argue on either side. I'm just here to kind of share my opinions, what I've seen in my practice clinically as well, and just to kind of talk about some of the issues that I've noticed come up. And I think that this is something that has really led to men struggling with their mental health. The other big piece here too that I've seen is just the societal and cultural expectations that men have. And depending on the culture that men have had in the past, some of these cultures, I'm from the South Asian culture, so there isn't a lot of space and room that men are given to express their emotions, to feel sadness. And I've noticed that especially within my culture, a lot of men, they show emotion through anger, because anger seems to be an accepted way for a man to express his feelings, but sadness isn't. And I find that a lot of men who struggle with anger actually have issues with sadness. And when they're able to have space to process their sadness in a healthy way, it has such a positive impact and effect on their anger and literally decreases it. And when it comes to societal expectations, a lot of men have that pressure to need to provide. We see so many of these social media posts where women are just I don't go 50-50 and talking about broke men and all of these things. And I think, it really makes me have compassion for men at points as well, because it's just there's so much pressure on them having to be this provider and make lots of money and have this status. And a lot of men, their value is they get it through that status, through that provider mentality and how much money they make. And if they feel like they're not matching that expectation or meeting that, all of a sudden they are of lesser value. Seeing all of this really come about, especially on social media over the past few years, and then really working one-on-one with men in my practice, has just allowed me to just have so much compassion for them and all of the pressures that they experience, that oftentimes I find that they're not given space or permission in their lives to actually feel. And a lot of them are told to toughen up, or this is just how it is, or be a man, to this day still. And I see that very toxic impact that it has on their mental health on a day-to-day basis. With that being said, and understanding where some of these issues stem from, it's like, what do we do about this? So whether you are a woman who has men in your life that you love, or whether you're a man watching this, the best thing and place to start is to learn how to process your emotions in a healthy way. Just recently in my practice, I started working with a man. He was a young man, and he had lost his father a couple years back, and he's experiencing so much anxiety on a day-to-day basis. And one of the things we talked about was just how he hasn't started processing the grief and loss of his father. And I told him that if we don't process our emotions or work through them, they're going to continue to be suppressed, and they're going to come out in different forms. And one of the ways his unprocessed emotion and grief was coming out was in the form of anxiety. And so I told him, I was like, I can give you all the diet, all the other stuff, but if you don't start to learn how to work through your emotions and that grief in a bit of a healthy way, none of that stuff is going to work. And so I gave him some strategies that he could use to start working through that, because it's so important. And I find that this is like the number one piece that so many men are missing in their lives, that causes them to then experience these mental health struggles, is that they're not processing their emotions. And if they are processing it, oftentimes it's not in healthy ways. Oftentimes I see men reaching for alcohol, and they're drinking, or they're smoking marijuana, or they're playing video games and using all these other ways to cope with their emotions, because they don't have any safe space in their life to feel the emotions, to get their experience validated. And I think so many men have grown up where their experience, where their emotions were just not validated in a healthy way. And that then leads them to become adults who don't know how to regulate their emotions, and become adults who are struggling with their mental health significantly. Unprocessed emotions can come out in the form of anger, in the form of avoidance. I see so many men who are struggling with their mental health, and they avoid things as a way to cope with them instead of facing them. It can also come out in the form of anxiety. So I want you to really remember that unprocessed emotions don't go anywhere. They can literally come out in the form of physical disease. And so learning how to process these emotions is the number one place that I want you to start. And what does processing emotions look like? You don't need to do this in front of other people. So I'm not telling you to now go cry in front of your wife or girlfriend or parents. By all means, if you want to, and if you have a safe space, go do it. But it looks like you starting to check in with yourself on a daily basis, and starting to get in tune with your body, and starting to name your emotions. You can literally Google emotions wheel. And something you can start doing is doing these little check-ins with yourself throughout the day, and starting to name what emotions you feel, and starting to ask yourself, what support do you need right now in this moment? That's a great way to process your emotions and to start getting in tune with yourself. So if it's lunchtime and you go through the emotions wheel and you're like, ooh, I feel anxious. Okay, how can you support yourself right now in a way that's healthy? So maybe you have a craving for like a burger, and you're just like, ooh, I see that as a way of me wanting to cope with my anxiety. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on a walk, or maybe I'll call a friend, or maybe I'll sit and breathe deeply for a couple of minutes. And then maybe when you go home at the end of the day, you're just like, ooh, I feel happy. Okay, how do I want to cope with this emotion? What's going to help me feel even more happy, or work through this happiness? And so when you start to just give yourself these micro moments during the day to process your emotions, to check in with yourself, you become an emotionally resilient man. You become a man who develops healthy emotional regulation skills. And that has a positive impact and effect on everybody around you. It will improve your relationships. It will allow you to achieve your goals and success 100 times more and better and faster, because you're actually able to emotionally regulate yourself, process your emotions in a healthy way. Emotional regulation is one of the best things you can practice as a man, because it gives you the space and permission to show up how you actually want to, instead of showing up in the default form. It gives you the space and permission to align with your highest and best self, so that you can truly build the life of your dreams. And it is the gateway to giving yourself space to show up as a man that you really want to. And it is the gateway to helping you achieve all of your goals in life. If you found this video to be helpful, please give this video a share to other men in your life, so that their experience feels validated, and most importantly, they get that tip and help as to how they can start improving their mental health through processing their emotions. And if you want one-on-one support to help you rewire your brain, I'm here for you. You can use the link in the bio to book a free 30-minute call with me, and we can chat about what your plan looks like.